Okay. So it is February 5th, 2026. And if you have stepped into really any retail space recently, especially in Asia or anywhere celebrating the Lunar New Year, you know what the vibe is. It is just a wall of red.
Oh, total visual saturation.
Yeah.
Lanterns, banners, red envelopes, everything.
Everything. But, amidst all the gold and the paper dragons, there's this one specific decorative element that you see absolutely everywhere. These tall, kind of architectural branches that are just exploding with these bright, bright red berries.
The Ilex verticillata.
The Winterberry. And, usually we all just walk past these things in the mall and we just assume, okay, plastic props, pretty generic red things.
Right.
But today, we're taking a cue from someone who decided that plastic wasn't a good enough answer. We're doing a deep dive based on a blog post from qianmeng.org.
Which is a fascinating little corner of the internet.
It really is. The post is called Notes on Gardening, Part 798, Discovering the Real Winterberry. And the author, this guy Ang, he describes himself as an old software plumber.
That job title does a lot of work in this story. A lot of heavy lifting.
It really does. And that's our mission today. We're going to look at this plant through the eyes of a software plumber. We're going to figure out why this berry is such a huge symbol of luck. And then we're going to uncover this surprising and honestly kind of tragic biological reason that makes growing it almost impossible for the very people who value it the most.
It's a great story. It's about the clash between cultural symbols and, biological hard coding.
So let's start where Ang starts, with the observation. He's walking through a mall, he's surrounded by all this festive chaos, and he zeroes in on these artificial berry stalks.
And we should remember the context here. For Chinese New Year, red isn't just a color. It's an energy. It's vitality, good fortune. It wards off bad spirits. You have to have red in the house.
Right. And these berries are, they're perfect for that. They're so vibrant. But Ang mentions that instead of just, buying the fake ones and going home, he went on a bit of a field trip. He went to actual plant nurseries to find the source code, so to speak.
To find the biological original.
Yeah. The origin of the plastic decoration.
And he finds it, the Ilex verticillata. But what I love is his description of the plant. He talks about these dense clusters of bright red berries clinging firmly to the branches, even after the leaves have fallen.
That detail is so specific, isn't it? Even after the leaves have fallen.
That's the whole thing. That's the defining feature. Because think about what that looks like. You've got these skeletal, woody branches. Normally, that signals winter. It signals dormancy, maybe even death. The tree has stripped itself bare to survive.
But then clinging to it, you have this explosion of red, of life.
Exactly. It's life persisting against a backdrop of complete harshness. It's such a powerful image of resilience. I think that's why it hits so hard as a symbol. It's not just pretty. It's tough.
It's stark and it's beautiful. I can totally see why you'd want that in your living room. But this is where the software plumber brain kicks in. Ang doesn't just admire it. He immediately asks the implementation question. Can I run this system? Can I actually grow this thing in a tropical climate?
And that's where we hit the biological firewall.
Because the answer is, well, it's complicated. He says technically yes, but then there's this massive catch.
The catch is right there in the name, Winterberry.
We have to dig into this because this part of the research genuinely blew my mind. I always just thought Winterberry meant, it fruits in winter, it likes the cold.
It's so much more fundamental than that. It's not a preference, it's a non-negotiable requirement. Ang explains the plant needs a cold, dormant season. But to really get why this is a total deal breaker for a tropical gardener, we have to talk about something called chilling requirements.
Chilling requirements sounds like what I need on a Friday night.
Ha! Yeah, in botany, it's a little less relaxing. It's a survival mechanism. See, plants like the Winterberry, they evolved in temperate climates, so they have this huge problem they need to solve. If you're a tree in, say, North America, you cannot afford to bloom the first time you feel a warm breeze in January.
Oh, right, because if you bloom in January, the frost in February comes along and just kills you.
Exactly, it's a fatal error. So over millions of years, these plants developed a failsafe, an internal counter. They don't just measure warmth, they measure the cold. They literally track the number of hours the temperature is between roughly 32 and 45 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wait, they're literally counting the hours.
Chemically, yes.
Yeah.
It's an accumulation of certain proteins, maybe hormones. The plant is essentially saying, I refuse to wake up. I will not push out new growth until I have logged, say, 1,000 hours of chilling time. This ensures that when they finally do wake up, Winter is actually truly over.
That's incredible. It's like two-factor authentication for blooming.
That is a perfect analogy. That's exactly what it is. You need the warmth, that's the password, and you need the accumulated cold hours, that's the verification code, to unlock spring.
Okay, so let's bring this back to Ang and anyone listening in the tropics. If you live somewhere like Singapore or Malaysia, where Ang is probably writing from, where it is 85 degrees and humid all year round.
The counter never starts. You have the password, the heat, all the time, but you never get the verification code. The plant just sits there, waiting for a signal that will never arrive.
So it's not that the heat itself is killing it?
No, not directly. It's the lack of a reset. Ang says it very clearly. Without this winter period, the plant will fail to produce new berries the following year. It's a one-hit wonder.
Wow.
It blooms once, because it probably got its chilling hours in some nursery in a colder climate before it was shipped over. But once that cycle is finished, it's bricked.
It's bricked, to use the software term. I love that. The hardware is fine, but the operating system crashed because a dependency wasn't met.
Precisely. The biological loop has been broken.
But Ang's a problem solver. He's a plumber. He doesn't just find the bug, he proposes a workaround. And I have to say, the workaround he comes up with it's absolutely hilarious in how practical it is.
It's the kind of solution only an engineer would come up with. He writes, one could theoretically simulate these conditions by placing the plant in a refrigerated room.
A refrigerated room. I'm just picturing this. You have this beautiful, elegant shrub, and every night you have to, drag it into the walk-in freezer?
Or you clear out the vegetables and you shove it next to the milk in your kitchen fridge for, 3 months.
Honey, where's the leftover pizza? It's behind the Ilex verticillata where it's 600 chilling hours. Don't touch it.
It really highlights the absurdity of it, doesn't it? And Ang knows this. He says it's hardly sustainable or practical for most average gardeners. But the thought experiment itself is so valuable because it proves the rule. The plant is a machine. It needs specific inputs to generate that output. And if the environment can't provide the input, the cold, you have to artificially manufacture it.
It's such a perfect example of how we try to bend nature to fit our aesthetic. We want the look of the Winterberry, the symbol of luck, but we don't want the actual winter.
We want the fruit without the frost.
Yeah.
And that right there explains the plastic ones.
Right.
That's why the malls are full of fakes. The plastic version is the patch for the biological bug. It gives you the visual output. The red berries of luck without the system requirement of a 4-month nap.
The patch for the biological bug. That's brilliant. It's a cheat code.
It is. But I think there's something maybe even more interesting here than just the plant. We have to pivot to the person telling us this story. Because as I was reading this, I kept getting distracted by just the sheer depth of this blog.
Yes. Let's talk about Ang. Because the title, Notes on Gardening, Part 798. I mean, that implies a level of dedication that is, frankly, a little terrifying.
798 entries.
Yeah.
And that's just on gardening.
I did the same thing you did. I went through the sidebar in the archives. And it's not just, here's a nice picture of my flower. It's everything.
It's a catalog of a very particular kind of mind.
Look at his projects list. Okay, so we have notes on gardening, but right next to it, notes on Haskell programming, notes on Rust, notes on Go.
I mean, these are serious systems-level programming languages.
But then, notes on fish keeping. Specifically, betta spawn logs, and notes on photography, notes on meditation, notes on AI.
It paints a picture of a polymath, sure, but I don't think these are random, disconnected hobbies. I think they are all the same hobby.
How do you mean? How is Haskell programming the same as trying to grow a Winterberry?
It goes back to his job title, software plumber. A plumber doesn't just design the fancy gold faucet. They understand the pressure, the systems, the pipes, the flow, the leaks. They look at any system and they ask, how does this work and why is it broken?
And he just applies that framework to everything.
Exactly. Look at his recent posts. In the same month he writes about the Winterberry, he's got a post titled Notes on Fish Keeping, Part 187, Repurposed Barbecue Nets.
I saw that. He was using barbecue nets to, separate the baby fish or something?
Right. But just think of that mindset. He has a fish tank. It's a system. He has a problem.
Yeah.
Keep the fish separate. He scans his environment for a tool, finds a barbecue net, implements the hack, and documents the result. That's the exact same thing he did with the Winterberry.
You're right. He looked at the plant. He identified the system failure, no berries next year. He identified the missing variable, the cold. And he proposed a hack, the refrigerator.
It's all systems thinking. Whether he's debugging a line of code that won't compile, or debugging a plant that won't bloom, or debugging a fish tank that's out of balance, he sees the world as a series of inputs and outputs.
I love that phrase, debugging the garden. It sort of takes the romance out of it, but it adds this incredible layer of clarity. You know, a poet might look at the Winterberry and write about its melancholy beauty. Eng looks at it and says, Error 404, winter not found.
Error 404, winner
Wow.
not found. That's perfect. And did you see the disclaimer in his sidebar? Opinions expressed here are my own, night-long tinkering with free Libre and open source software.
That feels like a huge clue.
It is. He believes in open source. And that philosophy isn't just about software, it's about knowledge. You don't just solve the problem for yourself, you document the solution or the failure so that the whole community learns from it.
And that explains why he's on part 798. He isn't writing a textbook on how to be a perfect gardener. He's just sharing his notes. He's saying, here's what I tried, here's what failed, here's what I learned.
It's the scientific method, but in blog form.
Mm.
And it's so refreshing. In a world where everyone on social media is just posting their highlight reel, the perfect flower, the amazing harvest Ang is posting the process. He's posting the chilling requirement data. He's posting the barbecue nets.
It really makes you appreciate the value of just noticing things. I mean, this guy turned a mundane trip to the mall into a botany lesson and a philosophical reflection on dormancy.
It changes the world around you. When you have that learner mindset, that software plumber mindset, you never run out of things to explore. Everything is a system waiting to be understood.
So let's bring it back to the Winterberry and those plastic stalks that we see everywhere. Now that we know the science and we know the system's thinking behind it, how does that change how we see them?
Well, for me, it adds this layer of, I don't know, depth, maybe a little bit of sadness, but also appreciation. When I see those red berries now, I don't just see a decoration. I see a ghost.
A ghost.
Yeah. I see a biological reality that we've tried to clone because we couldn't handle the real thing. We want the symbol of luck, but we can't handle the reality of the plant that creates it. The plastic berry is like a monument to our desire to bypass nature's rules.
That's deep. We want the result without the process. We want the bloom without the dormancy.
Exactly. And real biology doesn't work that way. You can repurpose a barbecue net. That's a clever hack. But you can't hack the chilling requirement of a temperate tree. Nature has hard boundaries.
It really is a lesson in respecting the cycle. We get so used to, I don't know, having strawberries in January or air conditioning in the summer. We forget that living things have rhythms.
And if you disrupt the rhythm, the music stops.
Which brings me to this thought I've been having while we were talking about this whole chilling requirement thing. We talked about how the plant basically has a breakdown if it doesn't get its rest. It needs that reset button.
Like a biological mandate. No rest, no fruit.
And I'm looking at our lives, I'm looking at the modern world. We are always on. We are that tropical climate. It's always summer. The lights are always on. The notifications are always dinging. We're always expected to be blooming.
Right, we treat dormancy as a bug. We think if we're not producing something, we're failing.
Exactly. But the Winterberry teaches us that dormancy isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's essential.
If you don't take the time to accumulate your own chilling units, whatever that looks like for you, silence, rest, disconnection, you can't produce the red berries of creativity or good work the next season. You just burn out.
You'll be a one-hit wonder.
You'll be a one-hit wonder.
So that's the challenge for all of you listening today. We looked at the Ilex verticillata. We looked at the dedicated notes of a software plumber. And we found out that sometimes the most productive thing you can do is absolutely nothing.
Freeze for a bit.
Freeze for a bit, put yourself in the metaphorical refrigerator.
Just maybe not next to the pizza.
Or do whatever works for your system.
Whatever works.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. I hope you never look at a mall decoration the same way again.
Go find your winter.
See you next time.